Good morning and welcome to ASL's HR in 10.
At 10.
I'm Jason Perry.
And I'm Kimberly Bradshaw.
And each week we attempt to broadcast live on YouTube to keep you up to date with the latest goings on in HR and employment law. But some of you might notice the screen looks a little different to usual. Live is never dull, is it, Kimberly?
No, my entire network has gone down for my entire road and I didn't have Skype on my phone, so nothing like last minute panics.
With a few minutes to spare and with the wonders of modern technology, we switched to mobile devices so we can still bring you HR in 10 this week. So we got there anyway. Kimberly, shall we start? There's quite a lot going on in talking about SSP again, isn't there? And this has been bubbling away for some time.
Yes, there's definite talk that a rethink on SSP could come about. And is it the research by Unnum UK?
It is, yes. And WPI Economics have actually done it. It's really quite interesting because the broad suggestion is if we pay more to people who are off on sick, they'll take less time off sick.
Will they?
Well, the logic is, and it's quite an interesting one when you look at it, and you've got a couple of angles here. One, most of us know, deep down if we really look at it, could we survive on it's £95 a week, I was just looking for the exact number, £99.35 a week I think it is at the moment. Most of us know we couldn't survive on that level of income for anything more than a few days. So we have a problem that SSP is simply too low to be sustainable for most people. We know that many companies pay higher levels of sick pay. And the suggestion is that if employers take a more interventionist approach, a more interactive approach with people who are on sick, that actually they'll have less time off.
Yes, and as we know, the cost of sickness absence is huge for organisations.
It is.
But this research is suggesting that the UK economy could be boosted by something like £4 billion if this new approach is taken.
Indeed. One of the key points on which it hangs, which made a huge amount of sense to me, was that if employers were to pay a higher rate, their motivation to be attentive to what's going on with their staff would be much higher. So you kind of solve both problems at once, in as much as those people who are, and I'm cautious to say genuinely ill, I'm not suggesting people claiming sick pay aren't genuinely ill, but these people properly need to be on a supportive benefit at this point in time. Those people will actually be able to manage. But the flip side is, if the employer's paying a higher rate of money out, they're more interested in finding solutions rather than just waiting for the person to be able to come back to work.
I lost you briefly.
Yes, I think you froze.
So what I was saying is that's where their suggestion of vocational rehabilitation comes in, which is very much around being proactive and supportive and trying to keep people in the workplace and supporting them with their needs, whatever they are, whilst they're, recovering.
Yes, and what really strikes me is actually, if we've learned anything over the past 2 years from COVID, we can quickly adapt a workplace. And there must be many people who might arguably be sick, who perhaps an alternative interpretation of hybrid working, let's call it, might actually enable that person to contribute to the business, contribute to their employer at a time when otherwise they wouldn't be able to. And that I think is the hub of the suggestion. It kind of makes some sense to me.
It does. And, there are some things where you might not feel well enough to go into an office or your workplace, but you still feel well enough to be able to do something which you could potentially do from home.
Yes.
So I think I think it's going to be a struggle for some organisations. I think what they're suggesting is something like 63% of average earnings, isn't it?
Indeed, and I've done a quick calculation, and I reckon that is about £385 a week, which clearly is a very massive increase on the £99.35. The suggestion is that these kind of combinations are going to bring in such savings that this is going to be viable in the round. So it's an interesting piece of research to watch, I think.
It is, and my question is who's going to be paying the increase? Is it the employer or the government?
I think we both know the answer to that one, really. But the question is, will employers be able to take advantage of this and manage it? It's clearly going to put some focus on it, on them trying to minimise time off. And I guess probably one of the key points is perhaps to look at those employers who run full pay sick schemes and whether or not they have lower rates of absence than those people who adopt only SSP. So I think there's a lot more meat to be put on the bones of this one, but it's interesting to see people looking at it seriously as to how do we develop an almost self-financing approach to resolving the low sick pay problems we've got. And they are very low. I think we're amongst the lowest in Europe, and there are problems here that need to be addressed. But look, we normally try and fit 2 or 3 subjects in here, and we've talked about that one for quite some time. There's one I really want to sneak in before, we might get time for one more, but one I really want to sneak in, which is kind of on the same line, disabilities. There's something really exciting happened on the disabilities front, hasn't there?
There is. The Office of National Statistics have shown that there's been an increase in the number of disabled people in work. And is it by 1.3 million since 2017? Something like that.
It is. And those of you that pay huge attention to political announcements will obviously remember in 2017, when I'm sure it must have been Theresa May's government thinking about the timing of it, when they announced a target to get 1 million more people into 1 million disabled people into work over a 10-year period, so by 2017. And we don't often see governments achieve their targets substantially ahead of time, do we?
No, I mean, their target was to achieve it by 2027. And
yes.
Indeed. I'd be interested to, how that breaks down. Is there a particular type of disability which is more able to be included in the workplace? But I think it's a phenomenal figure, and there's still a long way to go, though.
There is, and it's noticeable. I mean, even on an anecdotal level, I was out the other day and noticed while doing my weekly shopping, there was an individual serving on the till who you didn't know till you got to the checkout and started communicating with him, but he was mute. And actually, when sort of have you got your loyalty card, held up a sign to ask me. And there's no reason why that can't work in many roles, but it's rather nice because I can't imagine having experienced that 5-10 years ago.
No, exactly. And I think, I'm a big Strictly fan, as most people know, and they had the deaf actress from EastEnders on there. And one of the things they were saying is if more people learnt sign language, it would make a big difference. And yes. I really think that that's something that we could all benefit from. Yeah. I can do the alphabet in sign, but it takes me ages to spell out any words. Yes,
I have visions of you communicating in Morse code or something to try and get your message across. So it may take a little while, but it's really nice to see these sort of things happening. And I guess what we're seeing is the beginnings of a change, and that is quite fast. In what are we talking, 5 years? That's a big change, probably in part because of the low levels of unemployment we've got. Therefore, employers are having to think differently. But the law hasn't changed. This is attitudes that are changing, isn't it?
Absolutely. And, bring it on. It's absolutely a wonderful move forward, and I just hope that momentum continues.
Indeed.
I wonder how much of it is also because hybrid working is more available, which makes it easier for some people that have mobility issues to get about.
Which arguably takes us right back to that SSP point. If you can find a way of making the workplace work for somebody in a creative way, in a hybrid way, perhaps we can get more people into work who are on SSP. So I think this one's got to run and see where it goes.
Definitely.
Kimberly, I'm so glad we got a connection out to you. We managed to do this today. Scary moment just before we're due to go live, but we got there, so thank you. But HR in 10 is in 10, as we know, and we've about run out of time for the day.
Oh, lovely. Okay, well, see you. No, not next week because it's the bank holiday, but we'll see you in 2 weeks' time.
Indeed, and hopefully you'll have had your internet reconnected by then.